I have a question. Playing off what you just said, I have a question. It wasn't even written down, but in a previous interview I did, also with a guy who was with Chris Van Zant, Brad Thomas.
Brad, yeah.
He was saying how there's some people on social media who use ambiguity to try to convince people.
Yes.
Now he said this in the interview, and he didn't name names. He's like, I don't want to name. I'm not interested in getting that. But that they try to get the audience to be like, oh, I'll drop these little breadcrumbs, and then I just won't clear up confusion. When you see people on Instagram or Twitter, or whatever, who maybe exaggerate their military service, is it easy for you to identify? And then what do you think of those people?
Yeah, it's I don't mean to overtalk, but yeah, it's easy to identify because we pretty much know them all. Does it bother me? Yeah, it bothers me, but I get it. Guys are trying to make a living out there, right? And I'm all for it. I don't like the ambiguity out there that, you lead, listeners or followers to think one thing and, that's not what you did,
Right. I 100% agree. Like what is wrong with saying I was there, but I was a support guy?
Yes. And the guys that are proud say that. The guys that are fucking proud and that are respected, they do say that.
Yeah. And that's my point, right? Like our support guys were phenomenal at every level. And you got to understand that, right? Like if you're a mechanic in the Army, okay, you can be a mechanic in the 82nd and you can be responsible for knowing how to fix the headlights on a Humvee. It's the only thing you need to know. And you've only got 2 Humvees that you need to do it to, right? So you sit around and play cards most of the time. Or you can come to the unit and you're responsible to know how to fix every vehicle on God's green earth. And you're in charge of a fleet of 30 or 40 vehicles, right? And you're not making more, right? They are taking on much more responsibility because they want it, but because they want to work there, because they want to support the operator, because it's important to them. And that's the kind of quality you get in the support there. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Well, and that's why that goes into why these guys that are like kind of riding on the coattails and like they're not saying they weren't operators, but they're kind of making it sound like it, and then they're getting these big followers. There's nothing wrong with saying I was a fucking support guy. You know, I mean, like look at the direct support guys. They're doing everything that we're doing basically on target. I mean, they're coming on every target with us. But they know that they can make money. They know they can get followers by just saying, I was at the unit. And then most people just think if you're at the unit, you were an operator, which isn't true.
Right. Because if I was and I wasn't in the military at all, but I find all of this shit so cool. And even if I was just a support guy or a dude changing the headlights, like to me, that'd be the coolest fucking thing ever still. And like, I would just say that. And like, I could tell, and I've asked some other people, I can tell it hits a nerve with some people. And they're like, essentially, again, it's lying through omission. You're just not telling the full truth. But anyways, I just want to get
the reason I think why it pisses us off is like you're taking away from all the stuff that we've done and that we've completed and we got selected. And now even though you had your own selection process, you had to be the best at what you were doing, but by letting other people think that you were an operator, it takes away from what you've actually done, right?
It ain't right. It just ain't right.
It's just not right. Yeah.
And I'll say that, the majority of people I've seen doing that were not people that were at the unit for very long.
Right. 100%.
So, that's one of the first things I look at when I try to figure out if somebody's full of shit, right? If they're like, I was in SEAL Team 6, I'm like, well, what years were you there? If they were there for 10 years, probably a good dude, right? They're like, I was in the unit in the 90s. How long? 96 to 98. Okay. Good to know. Gotcha.